Michigan Out of Doors Online is brought to you in part by Big Fish Charter Services in Elginak. Experience a world-class muskie fishery on Lake St. Clair for predator fishing or a once-in-a-lifetime trip on the St. Clair River to tangle with a prehistoric lake sturgeon at Big Fish Charter Services. It's all about big fish.
Welcome to Michigan Out of Doors. I'm Jenny Olson, and this week we've got an exciting show for you. We're going to head up across the Mackinac Bridge and over to the western half of the UP to show you a deer hunt that was on the bucket list for our own Jordan Brown. He was able to chase after a buck with his bow. They have some amazing footage from that hunt. You won't want to miss that. And we're going to check in with Dr. Deer, Dr. James Kroll, for part 2 of our series with him on our deer herd here in Michigan. And Jimmy's also got an exciting hunt for us this week too.
Well, that's right, Jenny. We do have a little bit more on this week's show, and being the opening week of the pheasant season, we thought it's only appropriate to bring you a little pheasant hunting, but this did happen a couple of weeks ago, and it was a thank you event, really to say thank you to both our veterans and our law enforcement officers. It's a very cool event. You won't want to miss that. Lots of good stuff on this week's show. You stay tuned. I'm Jimmy Gretzinger, and it's time for Michigan Out of Doors.
From the first spring rains to the soft summer breeze, dancing on the pine forest floor, the autumn colors catch your eyes. Here come the crystal winter skies. It's Michigan, Michigan out of doors. Someday our children all will see this is their finest legacy, the wonder and the love of Michigan. As the wind comes whispering through the trees, the sweet smell of nature's in the air. From the Great Lakes to the quiet stream, shining like a sportsman's dream, it's the love of Michigan we all share.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Greenstone Farm Credit Services, making recreational land ownership possible across Michigan and northeast Wisconsin. Begin your land financing journey at one of Greenstone's 37 locations or visit greenstonefcs.com. By G5 Outdoors, makers of the Quest and Prime bows. Manufactured and designed in Memphis, Michigan, G5 offers archery bows, broadheads, and accessories. On the web at g5outdoors.com. By Country Smokehouse, offering a variety of meat products. Country Smokehouse is located 3 miles south of I-69 on M53, just south of Imlay City. Country Smokehouse is a meat processor, a butcher, and a destination for sportsmen.
We all have one. That perfect spot, a special place we go to smooth out the ripples of the day. Our perfect spot is calling. Our perfect spot is Pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
Hi, I'm Jordan Brown, and we kick off this week's show in the Upper Peninsula, where Gabe and I were able to spend a few days at bow camp over in Menominee County.
Yeah, we're in central Menominee County. We're hunting private land, farmland that's a mixture of woods and fields, alfalfa and corn. We're hunting some land that I've leased anywhere from about 10 years to 28 years. I guess we've been managing it for antler size, but also for buck to doe ratio and quality of deer for about 15 years. We started with the hunters that come, we started really managing it that way. We've seen considerable change in antler points, which isn't too hard to do with 2-year-olds, but we've also, by going from 1.5 to 2.5, but now we're getting more and more 3.5 and 4.5 here. Our weights have gone up considerably with management here in our area, from averaging about 120 pounds on a dressed deer to averaging about 150 pounds on a dressed deer now.
If you've watched the show the last couple of years, you know that I've been trying to kill a buck with my bow in the UP for the last couple of years, and let's just say it's been a tough mission, but we're in a new spot, new part of the state over here in Menominee County, and we're going to be heading out to the tree stand in less than a half hour. Getting excited. Well, before we even got to camp, I felt like I already knew quite a bit about Dean. Gabe had told me a bunch of stories, and he had hunted with him several times. And this guy probably has more deer hunting stories than anybody you've ever met. And every night at deer camp, that was one of my favorite parts, is just sitting around listening to these old stories. Some of them 10 years old, some of them 20 years old, some of them older. And I think one of the unique things about Dean is how he started this guiding. You know, he guides all over the country, and he started it as a way to make ends meet, as a job. And he's kind of continued it today and used it as a springboard for some of his ministry work, and putting the outdoors and what he does there together is really interesting to me.
You know, over the years we did this for a living. We traveled and guided across the country, and loved doing that. But it's become for us more a ministry. We guide in Colorado, even though we're guiding probably one of the top couple elk ranches in the world. We're really there for ministry, and that's really what we do here. It's not a ministry where, like coming to a church or a Bible camp, but it's really to serve people. So that's become our life with the guiding, and whether it be here or Colorado or South Dakota or wherever, and end up in Texas and guiding, we do it because we love doing it. We do it to serve people. Along with that, then we get to travel the rest of the year and speak to church groups and make ourselves available for that. So that's really why we do it. The nostalgia part of it is a big addition to it, but we love doing it because of the chance we have to serve people.
Well, it's October 9th. It's our second day in the stand here in Menominee County. Hunted last night, saw quite a few deer actually, but we're really contained. It's a really tight spot. These cedar swamps, they literally come right up to the edge of the field. It goes field, super thick swamp. I've never hunted anything like this before, and it's a little tough for me. I'm used to hunting downstate where you can see hundreds and hundreds of yards, you can see deer coming. Here it's like they're either right on top of you, or maybe you're catching a glimpse of them through some branches. So a little bit of an adjustment there, but we did see a shooter buck last night. Couldn't get any video, it was too thick where he came out. We just got a couple of glimpses, but I saw a decent buck, had a little spike horn in here close and a couple of fawns, but nothing we were looking to shoot. So there's been multiple bucks that I would shoot hitting this field. It's just where they're going to come out and how close. So hopefully tonight we get one of those bucks to show themselves. Hopefully it's within 40 yards or so of the stand. Man, I wish you could hear this. It sounds like two pencils fighting together. That's hilarious. Well, after spending 2 nights in the same stand and not having an opportunity at any decent buck, just a couple of spikes, we decided to switch stands. Gabe had a lot of confidence in another area that he had hunted in the past, and the wind direction changed and we were able to go there. So we took that opportunity to slide into a new setup and see if we couldn't have some luck there. So we climb into the stand that third night, and the wind's just whipping from the moment we climb into the tree. It's blowing 20 or 25 miles an hour. And I was a little concerned right away that that might kind of hurt our deer movement. Sure enough, we didn't see a whole lot until that last hour of daylight. And I'm watching the doe and a couple of fawns that had kind of come into the food plot, and they were milling around and pretty nervous the whole time while they were in there. And we're just keeping an eye on them, trying not to get busted. And Gabe taps me on the shoulder and says there's a nice buck on the edge of the corn. And we start talking back and forth about how old we think this buck is, trying to decide if that's a shooter buck for the area or not. And he's walking in, and this deer just has enormous shoulders and a big gut. He's got rolls in his neck, and just a really big bodied deer. And I'm watching him as he's coming in, and we're kind of talking about it. And I realize at some point that my binoculars are shaking so bad I can hardly see what it is. And that's when I told Gabe, I said, that's a shooter for me. That's a deer that gets me excited. And I know that's different for everybody. It might be a 4-point for some guys, might be a 10-point for others. But for me, where we were hunting, to watch this buck walk in, I knew right away this was a deer I wanted to shoot. Now the problem was the food plot was almost 100 yards across, so we needed him to come at least on our half of the food plot before we lost camera light in order to get a shot. And finally, with probably only 4 or 5 minutes of good camera light left, he started walking towards us, and once he got within 40 yards or so, I knew we were going to get a shot. It just was when and where and how it was all going to work out. Shot my first UP buck ever. Oh man. Releasing that arrow and watching the buck fall, there was just a lot of different emotion in that moment. You know, there's a sense of accomplishment and excitement and relief to a certain extent, and that's just what bow hunting is all about for me. It's about that intimacy you have, and you have to get an animal within range, and you have to do a lot of things right to be successful. You know, there's so much that can go wrong at that last second, and to make a 35-yard shot on him and have him go down right there, what an exciting moment. And to know that I just crossed off something off my bucket list, it's hard to put that into words. That's my first UP buck ever. Oh. Isn't that cool? Well, he's by no means a monster, but I am so happy with this deer. You know, we drove so far from home. This is such a different spot to hunt. You know, being from southern Michigan and coming up here and hunting, it was almost just as much about the experience. You know, we're hoping maybe we'd get a buck on camera. But coming up here to the UP, it's some of the most beautiful scenery that you'll ever see in the middle of October when all the colors are changing. I just can't say how incredible this is. You know, I've had probably the most incredible month of my life. I killed a beautiful bull elk in Colorado less than a month ago. Got married last week, just over a week ago. Come up here to the UP for my my honeymoon with Gabe, and we were able to get a nice buck and get it on camera. And what a unique experience. Just so blessed to be able to do this and do this for my job and be a part of these hunts. Really, really awesome. Well, I can't think of a better way to start my 2015 deer season than to arrow my first UP buck. And just a really big accomplishment for me. And I know there's guys that do it every year, but being from southern Michigan, that was something that I always really wanted to do. So to be able to get that done was a big deal for me. And I'm very thankful to Dean and Linda and to Gabe and everybody that was involved in setting that hunt up. Just very grateful to have had the opportunity to spend some days bow hunting in the UP. Well, that's one hunt I will certainly never forget, and special thanks again to Dean for helping us out on that hunt. Next up, we're going to stick with the deer theme, and this time bring you part 2 of our series with Dr. James Kroll.
Unfortunately, I've been around chronic wasting disease since it first cropped up in a government research facility in Colorado. There are a lot of misconceptions about chronic wasting disease that just drive me up a wall. And some of it's put forward by laymen, some of it's put forward by professionals, quite honestly. It's a disease that I think has been around for thousands of years. Just because we discovered it or first noticed it in 1967, 1968 does not mean that that's when it occurred. I think that chronic wasting disease is in every state. Eventually we'll find it in every state. It occurs, most of the diseases in that class, they're called TSCs, transmissible spongiform encephalopathies, which means you can catch it and it turns your brain to sponge. What I think if we look at what TSCs in lots of mammal species, lots of mammals including humans have their own versions of it. Normal infection rate is about 1 to 2%. And that's generally what we find with chronic wasting disease. So chronic wasting disease was first discovered in Colorado in government research pens. And then of course in 2002, it shows up in wild deer in Wisconsin, southwestern Wisconsin, and because of the hysteria of mad cow disease, which turned out to not be relevant, biologists and agency folks there, they just set their hair on fire and went running down the street screaming, and launched into a massive eradication program. And after I was appointed the deer trustee of Wisconsin, what we found out was, and the legislature of Wisconsin also found out the same thing, and another review panel found out the same thing, was that the eradication efforts were ineffective. They didn't really work. And one of the most interesting things about chronic wasting disease in Wisconsin is that all that work they did allowed us to monitor what was happening in that chronic wasting disease zone. And now I've got data, I've got trail cam pictures of 12 and 13-year-old radio-collared does with fawns, and that area, the zone, is the only area where deer herds are growing. There's a misconception, not devastating the deer herd. It is responsible for anywhere from 30 to 50% of the top 20 trophies every year come from that area. And there's no, and we've got older age class bucks, so none of the horrible things that are going to happen are really happening there. So I think I don't take chronic wasting disease lightly, but when you put it in perspective, all the diseases that affect our deer population, it goes down the list pretty far. You guys here in Michigan got hit the last 2 years with epizootic hemorrhagic disease, or EHD, that killed thousands of your deer. And it's happening all over the nation. Deer herds are declining in 31 states as I speak. Not one of those 31 states attributes any of those declines to chronic wasting disease. It goes to things like predation, which is going up all the time, loss of habitat, and EHD. EHD in the last 5 years has probably killed 12% of the national deer population. But do you see anybody getting concerned about it? I'm concerned about it, but nobody seems to be concerned about it. They're concerned about a disease that ranks way down on the list as things that impact deer.
Dr. Kroll's firsthand knowledge of CWD in the state of Wisconsin is very beneficial to us here in Michigan, and hopefully what they've learned over the last few years will help our DNR to better manage this disease.
What we also found out in Wisconsin was that the best approach was to contain the disease in that southwestern part of Wisconsin and monitor it, but to intensively monitor, put a lot of those efforts and dollars into intensively monitoring for breakouts, we call them, outside the zone, and then moving in on those areas, and there you can do local eradications. And so you can sample in a concentric circles and figure out the extent of the disease, and then you can go in and decide what to do, usually with stakeholder involvement, is eradicate it. That's exactly what we've been doing in Wisconsin. What's going on here in Michigan, I think the Michigan DNR has taken the right approach. I was so excited to hear a high-level official in the Michigan DNR say that CWD could show up anywhere. And it is. It's a sporadic, it is a spontaneous disease that occurs spontaneously, probably with some genetic forces, some nutritional forces, and then can spread. So when they found that first positive deer, and then started sampling around it, and now after 307, the last numbers I got, deer sampled, they have now 2, which is not very many. That is an area where you can indeed go in and probably eradicate that disease.
Since my interview with Dr. Kroll, more than 1,000 deer have been tested, only 3 of which tested positive for CWD. And while it's uncertain what the future holds, hopefully we can find a way to manage this disease going forward. Special thanks to Dr. Kroll for taking time out of his busy schedule to shed some light on deer and deer hunting here in Michigan.
Well, over the last several years here in the great state of Michigan, there has been a real effort to say thank you to our veterans. Lots of different fishing trips and a few hunting trips where people are giving away, donating of their time and their resources to say thank you to our veterans. Well, I was recently at an event that not only was saying thank you to our vets, but also our law enforcement officers.
With it being the opening week of the pheasant season, we thought it was about time, to see some pheasant hunting. But this took place a week or so back and was an event that really was one of the best hunts going here in the state.
We got our 10th annual Disabled Vets Hunt, and this year we added law enforcement into it. So all law enforcement officers can come, and got quite a few people from Operation Injured Soldiers coming. Camp Liberty signed up half of the guys coming out, and we're working with them, and got about 170 hunters coming out this year, and the program's growing quite a bit. We expect to go through 800 pheasants in 4 days. So.
Now, tell me, why did you want to add law enforcement to this year?
They need a show of support. We just got to show them that there are people that care about what goes on with them, and thank them for what they do out there.
Saying thank you to our vets and our law enforcement folks, well, it's a great thing to do. And to combine that with a great day in the field, a cookout, some good dog work, well, Chuck says he has quite a few returning hunters every year.
They love it. A lot of the guys will come back for year to year, and we get a lot of new vets. And the biggest thing they talk about is the dog work. How good the dogs are out here. We've got guides with dogs coming from 3 states now to volunteer to take the vets out, and it's a 4-day event right now. It might go into 5 days, and we can grow with it. We're looking for more hunters and get guys out here so they can relax and have a good time. It's not about the hunting, it's more the fellowship they get out here, and we're hoping to grow with them.
I don't think so, though. Oh, there goes them. Okay.
Yeah, that one's you.
Nice shot.
Thank you.
The birds were here to be found, and for the volunteers, this day means a lot to them as well.
A lot of these guys have had a tough time. It's a way to help out and let them enjoy a day of beautiful sunshine and a lot of camaraderie out here. So
is this the first time you've helped out at this event?
It's the first time I've had the opportunity. I've been tied up in this weekend numerous times with other things, and first time I've had an opportunity. So I've been here a couple of days doing this. So.
And what do you think the response has been from the vets and law folks that are
they
here?
all shake our hands, and they really enjoying putting some birds in their bags.
Nice.
They're really enjoying it.
It's a way to give back, but more importantly, it's some of these folks, to see a real change in them. Some of these vets, the disabilities that they had, I mean, you get them out here and they forget about their issues for as long as they're out here. And they're all very appreciative of it. It's, as Bob said, it's great camaraderie. It's a great event. There's an awful lot of people here helping out. You got the vets helping vets, cooking for us, and a lot of people are here to volunteer their dog time or put birds out or do whatever. It's just to see the smiles on these folks' faces and see them really relax, and they're very appreciative of it.
And as someone in law enforcement, what does it mean to you that they've extended that out to include law enforcement now?
Well, I've been working with Chuck now here since he started 10 years, and Chuck and his wife Joan are just two of the givenest people I've ever met in my life. And for them to extend that out to the law enforcement group, Chuck and his wife really, truly support law enforcement efforts across the state and our country, and it means a lot to us to be appreciated also.
I actually met Chuck Connell through good friend Bob Garner. And if there's a good cause, some hunting happening, and someone has a grill fired up, well, you know what? Bob will be there.
I always stop in and see everybody and help out where I can. And my son is under the weather, or else he'd be guiding out here with his Weimaraner. So, yeah.
You've known Chuck for years, right?
Oh, yeah. Chuck and I go back probably actually when I was doing Michigan Outdoors.
Okay.
Michigan Out of Doors. And his son drew an elk permit, and we were trying to hook him up with a guide, and so 20, 22, 23 years? It's been a long time.
And what's that?
He's a first-rate guy, too.
We do hope to bring you some good wild pheasant hunting yet this year. But today really wasn't about the pheasants. Well, yes, the hunting is a big draw for the guys to come out. But really, the heart of today was about giving back, saying thank you to those who serve our country and our community. It just so happens that many of our sportsmen here in Michigan, like Chuck Connell, have big hearts. And if more of us gave back like Chuck does, well, our state would be better for it. Thanks to all who made today possible.
Thanks for joining us this week for Michigan Out of Doors. Make sure you check us out online when you get a chance. You can do it a couple of different ways: on our website at MichiganOutofDoorsTV.com or on our Facebook page at Michigan Out of Doors TV. Whatever you do, make sure you join us for next week's show. Michigan Out of Doors is going to the birds next week. We're going to take you on a world-class duck hunt at Harson's Island, and then Jimmy's going to take us up across the Mackinac Bridge for some grouse hunting in the Upper Peninsula. Lots of fun stuff headed your way. way this fall.
Well, that's right, Jenny. There is a lot coming over the next few weeks here in Michigan Out of Doors. Lots of brand new stuff. There's so much good hunting and fishing, and I'm really excited about next week's show because it's going to be tagging along on a UP grouse hunt that I do every year with some buddies. You're going to get to tag along on that and see how we do in the field. We had a lot of fun, and it was a beautiful time of the year, so please don't miss next week's show. So much good stuff happening. And hey, if we don't see you in the woods or on the water, hopefully we'll see you right back here next week on your PBS station.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by the Michigan chapters of Safari Club International. For over 40 years, SCI has been protecting hunters' rights and promoting wildlife conservation here in Michigan and around the world. SCI chapter locations can be found on the web at firstformichigan.org. By Jay's Sporting Goods with locations in Clare and Gaylord. Jay's, serving the Michigan outdoor enthusiast since 1971 with a wide variety of outdoor products. The gear, the knowledge, the tradition of Jay's. On the web at jayssportinggoods.com. By Rosie Brothers. Located in Dryden, Michigan, Rosie Brothers has been serving Michigan for over 40 years. Specializing in outdoor needs, Rosie Brothers features Kubota tractors and equipment for use in farm, home, or commercial needs. On the web at rosiebrosInc.com. By Propane, Clean American Energy. Propane retailers promote the safe use of Michigan-produced gas energy in homes, farms, and businesses across our great state. Learn more at usemichiganpropane.com. Closed captioning is provided by the Michigan Propane Gas Association, Clean American Energy. Propane realtors promote the safe use of Michigan-produced gas to outdoor enthusiasts across our great state.
Michigan man. From the Keweenaw down to St. Joe, Kalamazoo, I am a Michigan man. Changing seasons paint the scene like rainbow trout in a hidden stream. The white-tailed deer in the tall pine trees. I am a Michigan man. I am a Michigan man. Ask where I'm from and I'll show you my hands. Lord above, I love this land. I am a Michigan man. From the Keweenaw down to St. Joe,